Jamaicans, they have been taking drugs of banana, yam, cocoa, ackee, sawfish.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's the drug.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. You're listening to The Cool Table. We are in the cut with a living legend, Jimmy Cliff. Thank you for joining us.
Blessed love, Adriel.
Thank you, thank you. For anyone who's just somehow unaware of this man's legendary career, one of only 2 Jamaicans in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the only living Jamaican with Jamaica's highest honor, the Order of Merit. So before we did this interview, I was, texting, calling a lot of my cousins from Jamaica, told my mom, told my dad, and everyone was like, you're interviewing Jimmy Cliff? This is so exciting. But I want to know what you've been doing in terms of the Olympics, because, Jamaican women just won that 4x100. I was in the gym when that happened. I was hyped as hell. So how have you been celebrating what everyone's been doing? Because we've been going hard. We've been doing our thing.
Yeah, well, somebody said, Jamaicans, they have been taking drugs of banana, yam, cocoa, ackee, sawfish.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's the drug.
And it's working. Oh man, that's exactly right. Now
I was full enjoying everything.
Mm-hmm, no, it's great to see. It's great to see. Now the new single, Human Touch. My favorite part of that song is there's a part in there where you say you have a shout out to Skype and WhatsApp, and for my Jamaican people keeping in touch all over the world, that's huge. That's huge. And I thought that was such a little difference, because everyone's been using Zoom now. We're even on Zoom right now, but the Jamaicans, we're using WhatsApp, we're using Skype. Talk about putting that part in there, because Zoom is a popular thing of the past year, but you put Skype in there instead.
Yeah. Well, the song tells us all about the great use of the technology that we have today, existing today. But the greatest one that we have, not technology, is the human touch. Because the human touch is love, divine love, ashuk. And that is the greatest one of all. The touch is really one touch, Of all the 5 senses, it boils down to one. Because when you see, it touches a nerve in the eye for you to see. When you hear, it touches the eardrums for us to hear. When we taste, it touches the taste bud for us to taste. And we feel, it's a touch. So really, it boils down to one touch. And all of them are important.
Wow, I've never heard it explained like that. That was, it's a touch everywhere. We talk about the 5 senses, but you're right. It is absolutely a touch everywhere. Now, over the past year or so, there's been a lot of stuff going on in terms of protests. A lot of discrimination coming to light in terms of how people are behaving. And you've always been someone who's talked about what's going on in the world in your music. And we didn't really hear from you as much over the past year. And you are someone who I would love to hear from, just because you have that wealth of knowledge. Now, Human Touch is, in that vein, but was there a reason why you didn't put out music as much over the past year? Because I feel like you probably had some, great words of wisdom that would have helped heal a lot of people.
Well, I was just living naturally, in nature, because we have to breathe in to breathe out. So I was actually breathing in to breathe out. So now I'm breathing out because I have the new single and there's an album following. I was taking in all I need to take in to let out.
I'm happy to hear that. Absolutely, very happy to hear that. Now that we're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Beverley Records. Now, what can you tell me about the beginning? Like when you first got there, what was your thinking of what it would help? How would you think it helped your career? Like, were you optimistic? Were you excited? Like, what was that first feeling when you first? Because you're basically the beginning of it as well. So what were you thinking at that time with Beverley Records?
Well, what was happening is all of the major producers who were like sound system owners, Sir Coxsone, Duke Reed, King Edwards, and so on, I checked them all, and none of them accepted me. So one night, feeling very kind of depressed and just walking on Orange Street, I looked up and I saw a sign marked Beverly's Records. And right away, a bulb clicked off in my head and said, wow, I have this song in my head called Dearest Beverly. Maybe if I finish this song and sing it to them, they would accept me. And that's what I did in about 5 minutes. And they were closing. And I put my foot in the door while they were closing and say, I'm a singer. They say, oh, we don't do recording. So I said, but I say, you can do recording. They said, we're closed. I said, I want to see the boss. And so they heard me talking, and they said, okay, let him in. And I went in and I sang the song what I just wrote. And one of them said, he's got the best voice I ever heard in Jamaica. And I said to myself, yes. So that was the start of it, Yes, I was optimistic and everything. I just a feeling, I got that feeling that something would happen there.
Yeah, it's exciting to see that it's now 60 years since then. Like, it feels like such a long time, but it's like that's just a part of history at this point. I don't know if everyone knows this story, so I want to hear you tell this one about how you got the name Jimmy Cliff. I was doing some research. I know when you started going to Kingston, that's when you got that name, when you and your dad used to go to Kingston. But how did you get the name Jimmy Cliff?
Well, I was born in the hills of Adelphi St. James, about 4 miles from Somerton, where I grew up. The hills, I said, okay, I was born in the hills, and I didn't want to keep the name that my father gave me at birth, my parents, not my father. And I thought, well, I was born in the hills, so that's a cliff. And when my father felt I was a good boy, he said Jimmy. When I felt I wasn't a good boy, he said James. And so I said, wow, Jimmy Cliff is very appropriate. I'm born in the hills and I'm aiming for the cliff. What could be better than Jimmy Cliff?
I like that one. That's smooth. That's smooth. And I like that you came up with it yourself, because a lot of times they have a name given to them. Either it's their friends, their family, and that's impressive for you to think of the name yourself. So big shout out to you for that. The new project, what can you tell us about, what's on there? From you talk about your breathing in, your living life, you're kind of taking a step back over the past year. Are we going to see that kind of vibe on the project? What can you tell us about that?
Oh, yes. You mentioned earlier about all that's happening today in the, African descendants people are rising up all over the world. They're taking down statues that really don't represent them and all of that, all those things. So yes, I do have the music relating to that. I have a song and the album called We Want Justice.
The rest of the album, what would you say the vibe is more like? If you can compare it to some of your past work, what would you say the album's vibe or feeling is like?
Okay, very good question. I've been there from the inception of the music in Jamaica, from the first time it was called ska to rocksteady to reggae. So I've been there through all of the different stages of the music. So now we are in the era called dancehall, and dancehall has affected all the world, all mainstream music today. If you listen to reggaeton, if you listen to rap, all influence came from Jamaica too. If you listen to Afrobeat, also is influenced by Jamaica. So on the album, it is dancehall, ska feeling, reggae, rocksteady. I think I've covered them all on this album.
That's exciting to hear that we get that range coming from you. Of course, because you're an originator, you know, we have people who try and do the different styles, but you know, they don't come from that. And what you said about dance halls, like all over music, is such a huge fact. You know, in the UK, their music, a lot of dancehall influences as well. Even in dance music in America, dancehall influences as well. So I'm excited to kind of hear the originator on that type of sound. But is there anything that you're listening to right now? Is there anybody new? It could be from Jamaica, it could be someone from America, someone from Europe. Is there anyone who you like, you know, who's putting out new music that you're like, I like their vibe, I like their vibe?
I always have my ears open for what's new. I'm one kind of artist who is always looking for the new, whether in myself or out formation or what artist has got it. So I look in Jamaica, and I would say I look at the people who are trying to keep the tradition of the culture. The culture, I mean the spiritual part of the music, because when it was ska, it was a kind of celebration about independence from Britain. And then when it's turned rocksteady, it was a kind of, oh, what's this independence? So we slowed the music down. And then when it became reggae, it added the culture and spirituality of Rastafari.
Sorry, I was asking if there's anyone new that you're into, anyone who's
got
a
it.
new artist. Yeah.
Thank you. I would say Chronics. There are a few others, Chronics, but Chronics is probably the most outstanding one at the moment in Jamaica.
Now we love Chronics. Chronics came to Toronto a little while ago, and I had a bunch of friends that wanted to go see. So, you know, we got big love for Chronics. Now, this project is, I guess, excuse me, sorry. This project is something that I'm personally excited for, just because I'm excited for, you know, your take on what music is now, because a lot of the people who are, you know, are my age or younger people, they were not around for the past of how music has changed, and their musical, you know, take is kind of really only one way. Is there any way that you can kind of, I don't know, talk about like what the next single is going to be, or, you know, an anticipation for the album? Because I think that the single is such a unique song. You know, there's not that many songs like that. Like Human Touch is like, when I heard that song, I said, not something I'm hearing every day. So was there anything that you can compare, you know, some songs on the album to, or is it kind of just all over the place in that way where everything is so unique? Because Human Touch, I really would listen to it for a long time. I said, what can I really compare this to say this is similar to, you know what I mean? Just the rest of the album, how would you describe it? Like if you had to describe it in a sentence, in a word, like what the album is, how would you describe it?
Okay. It is the present, then, and then of the past, and then of the future. Because that's the way we're always living. We're always living in the present, which is connected to then of the past and connected to then of the future. So the album is like that, because a song like Human Touch, it is about humanity. But musically, you could find a touch of different kinds of music in it. You know, even the mixer who was mixing it, I mixed it in Miami. and he was saying, "Boy, Jimmy, this song is dope. It sounds like a part of it sounds country and western, a part of it sound rhythm and blues, and then you got the little bit of reggae going on in it. Wait, this is dope, man. What you doing?" So yeah, it's like that. I have lived all over the world. I've lived in Africa, I've lived in the UK, I've lived in Canada, and of course I lived in Jamaica, I lived in Brazil, South America, little place. So I picked up inspiration and influences in all of those places. And that's what comes out in my music. That's why my music is a bit different from typical reggae, even though I'm still typical. I've always said to myself, I am the thumb of reggae, because you see how far I am from the other four, but yet you need me if you're going to punch a blow. The thumb has to be there. So yeah, I'm like that.
It's so interesting to hear you say that you feel like you're a little different from the regular reggae, because I've always felt that, but I don't know if that's something that you would be saying. So it really feels good to hear you say that, because I've always thought, I said, when people think reggae, I think they think of a certain type of sound, but I don't feel like Jimmy's that sound. So it's really good to hear you say that. Now, you've worked with legends throughout your career in many different genres from all over. Do you have any big collaborations on this next project? And then as well, what has been your favorite collaboration up to this point?
Well, yeah, I do have one collaboration on this album with Taurus Riley. And of all the collaborations I've done all over the years, I do appreciate them all because they all represent what was happening at that time. I mean, I did Wild World with Cat Stevens. It was his song. He wrote the song, but he originally didn't like the song. I heard the song and I say, "Hey, I like this song." And the publisher called up Cat Stevens and say, "Hey, Jimmy Cliff like this song." He said, "Oh, yeah, I like it." And he took out his guitar. And at that time, we didn't have cell phone. We had cord phone, a landline. And he played his guitar. I sang it over the phone to him. He found the key and he said, "Okay, I'm going in to do the track. When can you come in?" I said, "I'll come in when you're ready. I'm ready when you're ready." And so that was a very good one, at that time. But I do love the new one now with Taurus Riley. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear that. I love Taurus Riley's voice. It's so smooth and so strong.
Isn't it?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very excited to hear that. Is there a favorite song that you like to perform still?
All of my songs that I've recorded, quite frankly. However, there are songs that I know I have to perform because the fans are looking for that. For example, I was in Australia one time and I didn't do The Harder They Come. And one came backstage and said, "Hey, Jimmy Cliff, what happened to Harder They Come?" He was angry, you know, but he made it in a jokify way. So really and truly, I have to do all of the classics that they're looking for. At the same time, I always try to do something new. What's happening? Because I say I'm an artist who's always looking for the new. And I feel like when I have something new, I put it to the public.
Yeah, I know first of all, we love hearing new music live, but as well, when you're an artist who's been around so long, it's like you've been performing the same big song for how many years? And I know artists sometimes get tired of that after a couple of years, let alone a couple of decades. So, I was really interested to see what your favorite song is. This is going to be our last question now. We have a segment on the show called Wednesday Wisdom. We have a new motivational quote or saying that we go over every single week, and it helps us get through the week and gives us that extra bit of confidence. Now, is there something that you keep in mind, or you either say it to yourself or to your people to keep them going when it's getting a little rough?
Well, I look at life in the natural way, natural nature, because in life we have natural thing and we have unnatural thing. You know, we have positive and we have negative. So I always do my best to stay on the positive. You know, we can't say the negative is not going to creep in, but we have to do our best to stay on the positive. And that's what I do for myself. And that's what I would like to share. That's what I share with people.
I think that is a beautiful place to end off. Stay on the positive. Hope everyone can take that with them, at the end of this conversation. Now, if anyone is listening to the Cool Table for the first time, make sure you subscribe to us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave us a rating and a review. 5 stars, not a single star less. Of course, you can listen to the Cool Table live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on CJRU, 1280 a.m. This is an absolutely legendary conversation. You see the Jamaica flag I have here in the office. You know, we're and I have something to show you before we get out of here, because this is a very, very big interview for me. We have this book, and every time I interview someone Jamaican, I bring it up because this book shows all the things in the country. So I feel like this is only right. You know, we show some of the clips talking to Jimmy Cliff. So
great.
One has been out for you, but thank you again for joining us. It's been absolutely amazing.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.